Hello everyone and welcome to Out of Character, where we step out of our imaginary worlds to take a look at IRL gaming news. Up in the headlines today, Deep Silver issued an apology for the Dead Island Riptide Zombie Bait Edition. The Halo 2 PC online multiplayer is finally going to be going offline come next month. Sony settles with the actor Jerry Lambert, who plays Kevin Butler over his Bridgestone TV ads. And Lightning returns, the Final Fantasy XIII 3rd edition. With that, folks, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Deep Silver has issued an apology for the Dead Island Riptide Zombie Bait Edition. I spoke about this yesterday with the statuette of the young lady in the two-piece bikini that's been eaten, as I put it so politely yesterday. They've come out and said that it was kind of a bad decision overall, though they did pass a little bit of deflection on to the gamers themselves when they sat there and said that this was the same thing, which was cut up like many of our fans had done to undead zombies in the original Dead Island. Now, of course, this was my point of view yesterday as well. I'm not going to go too deeply involved into it. If you really want to hear about it, you can go ahead and listen to yesterday's episode. But same thing as yesterday, basically. Overreacting the whole thing. I don't know if they really needed to issue an apology. Maybe not been the best decision on what they were doing as far as deciding to put this little statuette out, but in my opinion, still not that big of a deal. But they did issue an apology. No mention if they're going to pull it, though, and I doubt they're going to. It's probably already in production, spent God knows how much money on it. It's a lot of advertisement for them. I doubt they're going to end up actually pulling this off. More than likely, you're still going to see it hit the shelves, so if you still have a problem with it, don't buy it. Now, Halo 2 PC Edition will be shutting down its servers as of February 15th. 343 has been keeping tabs on overall the population, and so far over the last couple months, its peak concurrent users has only been about 20 players. The game was released back in 2005, so we're talking about a game that's a bit over 5 years old now, so understandable that they're finally going to shut down, especially if you can only get 20 concurrent users at any time. Definitely time to kill the online. Now, the one thing I wish that they would do is possibly release, I don't know, Halo 3 and Halo 4 and all the other various Halo spin-offs that we've had on PC as well. The game was originally developed for PC before Microsoft decided to redevelop it and put it out on the Xbox instead as the first release for the original Halo, as pushing their console exclusive game. Let's release the other ones. They'll claim all kinds of various things of pirating, and everyone likes to claim this kind of stuff. Yet, funny enough, PC developers still seem to live pretty dang strong. They still seem to release games on PC and still seem to make a lot of money. So that idea to me is just kind of silly overall, the idea that it's all the pirating and all that kind of stuff. No, especially if it's an online multiplayer thing, figuring that most of the time if you have a pirated game and if it's going online, you're going to have to connect to private type servers in which you won't get the same type of experience. Now, with Halo 2 going off, if there is a big enough user base out there, I'm sure there will be a system set up for private servers to come on, like they do with a lot of various games where people end up picking it up, putting the private servers on there so they can go ahead and continue to play it. But if it's only gotten 20 concurrent players, there's probably not a big enough player base to worry about this. So, if you happen to be one of the few people still playing Halo 2 online, sadly, it's going to be going away. Your Halo PC online gaming experience is now done. If you want to continue to play Halo online, you're going to have to pick it up on the 360. Now, Sony has settled with Jerry Lambert. Jerry Lambert is the actor known very well for playing Kevin Butler in the Sony PS3 commercials, which are very, very popular overall. And actually, for a bit of time, a lot of people thought that Kevin Butler was an actual VP for Sony. Sadly, he's not. This is just an actor portraying a role that is owned by Sony. What they're settling about is that Jerry did a commercial for Bridgestone while they're doing their Wii giveaway. In this commercial, he is shown promoting the Wii, playing with the Wii, and playing a character vaguely reminiscent of Kevin Butler, and Sony had a problem with this. Now, Sony had a problem with this for twofold reason. One, due to the fact that he's playing a character very similar to the character that Sony owns. This isn't a character Jerry Lambert owns. Kevin Butler is owned by Sony. And two, that Jerry's contract actually requires that he cannot promote another game competing system, which, well, the Wii would exactly be that. So They finally settled at this point in time. There's no mention of any monetary settlement between Sony and Jerry. What it is referring to is the fact that he can't do any type of video gaming commercial for the next 2 years, period, for anybody. I'm assuming, of course, Sony could say, no, you can do them for us still. And then also he has agreed to, if he does any commercials after that point in time, that he'll give sufficient details to Sony to go ahead and say, hey, this is what I'm doing a commercial on. If you have any problems with this kind of stuff, this is my character. I'm not infringing on the Kevin Butler character that you own. So he's agreed to those two things on there. And right now, Bridgestone has not settled with them. They're still going through the legal battles and fighting in court. In this, I have to side with Sony, to be honest. The character is very reminiscent of a character that's owned by them, and if his contract explicitly stated he can't do a commercial for another competing console, then he can't. He's a very well-known and recognized character. The actor is known in the gaming world. People recognize the Kevin Butler character. They recognize the actor without any real big problems. So the idea of him going over and doing a commercial in which he's using a Nintendo Wii, yes, that's an issue. It definitely makes it look like, wait a second, did he switch on us? We recognize this guy. And that's exactly what happened. It's not a good thing. It wasn't a smart decision on him. I don't know why he thought he could get away with it. He knew his contract wouldn't allow him to do it. He even came out and admitted himself, you know what, you're right, we're going to settle. I was in the wrong with this. So, unfortunately, bad call for Jerry on this particular case. Won't be seeing him in any commercials for a while here now, which is kind of sad. I really happen to actually like the Kevin Butler commercials. I think it's a fun character. It's one of Sony's better commercials. He's kind of a funny guy. Would have been cool if he really was a VP of the company, but alas, he's not, and we won't be seeing him in a commercial for a wee bit of time. Last up on the block today is Lightning Returns Final Fantasy 13. Again? Haven't we already done this game a couple times already? Well, apparently Square Enix has decided we're going to go for the third round of this particular franchise because they decided they really don't want to think of anything new and creative. I enjoyed the first two Final Fantasy 13 games. 13 and 13-2 were alright games. Not my favorite by any means. Give me Final Fantasy 6 and Final Fantasy 9 any day of the week. Even Final Fantasy 7, even though I think that game is overhyped. I'll take any of those before I'll actually pick up Final Fantasy 13 as far as games I like. But they're taking a weird turn with this particular one. Gone is your team-based. You're not walking out there with a crew. You are playing just as Lightning. It's the only character you're going to have a control over in this case. Gone is the standard type of combat system. You're not getting your Final Fantasy 13, 13-2 combat system. You're getting a much more action-based combat system, which, that could be good or bad depending on your point of view of it, I guess. But it's a complete switch in a different direction. They're also bringing in a slight version of Dress Sphere idea. It's not the same as Final Fantasy X-2, as god-awful as that game was. It won't be the same as that, but there will be an outfit system that she'll be using where she can only bring 3 outfits into battle, and you have abilities that you tie to the outfits. These 3 outfits can be interchanged while you're in battle, and they all run on a separate ATB timer. This is kind of interesting because it means that if you're paying attention to your timers, you're quick enough, you know what you're doing, it's possible that you have little to absolutely no downtime if you're bouncing between your outfits pretty quickly. It seems like a lot of menu crap for bouncing between outfits. I don't know if it's going to be menu-based or if it's going to be a simple button press, but if it is menu-based, that's a lot of bouncing just to switch outfits before you're able to do your moves. You will be able to actually move in battle, so you'll be using your thumbstick to run around the mobs and things of that nature, so it's gone a very big action-based kind of element. And the fact that it's focusing on a storyline-wise only on Lightning. There will be appearances by some of the other characters from Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2, as well as bringing in some new ones, but they won't be a part of your group. I personally do not like the idea. I don't like the idea of them having made 13-2. I like 13-2 alright, but I always liked with Final Fantasies, up until they did 10, of course, that this is the idea is one story, done for. We're not doing this story again. We're not continuing the story. It's done for. Then, of course, they did 10-2, in which you figure they learned maybe we shouldn't make sequels to Final Fantasy games because 10-2 was bad. But they did 13-2, and 13-2 actually ended up being alright. Some people say is a little bit better than 13. I say they're about the same. I don't really have a big opinion one way or the other of which one's better or worse. They're about the same in my opinion. But we need to stop doing this already. Especially the idea of let's make this on a single character that Square Enix has come out saying, oh, this character was actually liked and a lot of people wanted to continue the story. There's characters from the Final Fantasy series that much more people would like to see. Give me a story of Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. Dear Lord, I would love that. You have so many Final Fantasy VII fans. If they just re-released the game, didn't do anything different but up the graphics, they would sell millions of copies because of the millions of people who are obsessed with Final Fantasy VII. They do the same thing to Final Fantasy IX. Upgrade that, throw out some better graphics, it would sell tons of copies, but they've chose to go with Final Fantasy XIII. I think this is laziness. They've already got a great deal of the art assets already in there. They don't have to do a whole lot of changing that, and focusing just on Lightning makes making the story easy. Yes, I am one of those people who will come out and say, when Square joined with Enix, they went downhill. Squaresoft was Squaresoft defined my childhood. Square Enix, however, continues to slowly destroy my childhood. When they continue to make a new game with a Final Fantasy tag on it, that's just not any good. Stop doing this. Stop making these. This is the third game of this series. It's not how it works. Make a new game. Focus on Final Fantasy XIV. I'm looking forward to their new patch that's coming out. I think that's going to look and make a good game. But focus on that. Stop making this stuff. Focus on Versus. A lot of people want that, but we haven't heard anything about when Versus is ever going to actually be released. But instead they're doing this Lightning Returns thing. I don't get it at all. Not something I really have any big interest in. I probably won't pick it up, especially if I'm going to have to pay $60 for this game. If I can pick it up for cheap, if it goes on PC, and I can pick it up for cheap on, Steam for like $20 or so, I might get it. But if they're releasing this as a full-fledged $60 game, I'm not going anywhere near the thing. I have no interest in it in that point. Well, folks, I do thank you for watching. If you have any questions, comments, or want to share your opinions with these stories, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, folks, I do ask you, keep on gaming.